There comes a moment in life when you have to decide, are you playing it safe or are you all in? This is All In Empowerment, the podcast where we crush fears and step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I'm your host, Betsy Martell, coach and adventurer, here to push you past your limits and unlock your full potential. It's time to level up your life because empowerment isn't just a mindset, it's a commitment. So are you ready? Because in this space, we don't tiptoe, we go all in. Okay, well, Ann, welcome. Today on my podcast, I have Ann. Do I say this right? Ann Muzi?
Muzi, like music.
Yeah. Okay, so I am saying
Muzi.
it right. Good.
Yep.
Today's episode, we are entitling From Mom to Me, Rediscovering Self After Motherhood. I am honored to welcome Ann Muzi to the podcast, a woman whose journey embodies resilience, transformation, and the pursuit of purpose. Ann began her professional life in the world of advertising sales, but chose to step away to become a full-time, stay-at-home mom to her 4 children. While she cherished this role deeply, she also experienced moments of isolation and a loss of personal identity. Now, with her children grown, Ann is embracing a new chapter, seeking adventure, meaningful connections, and rediscovering herself beyond motherhood. In this episode, we delve into Ann's inspiring journey of self-discovery, the challenges of redefining oneself after years devoted to family, and the courage it takes to pursue a life aligned with one's passions and desires. Well, I can say that a lot of people out there listening, a lot of women out there listening are really feeling this right now, that they've been there, they've done that. So tell me a little bit about your journey from when you, tell me your transition, first of all, from transitioning from having a career to going to just taking care of children, 24/7.
I had a great career. I sold advertising for Journal Sentinel, and I was an outside salesperson, and I worked in areas in real estate, entertainment. I called on the brewers. I also worked in automotive. At that time, Journal Sentinel was a heavy medium for automobile dealers. And it was a great career. And then getting married, I still worked with my husband, and I were working side by side. He didn't work at the Journal, but I worked there, obviously. And then I got pregnant and had a baby, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
It is a lot.
And it wasn't a lot just going to work every day and taking care of a baby, but it was the emotional side of it, of peeling yourself away from your child every day and seeing someone else care for your child,
Mm-hmm.
and missing moments. And it was heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't like that didn't feel comfortable to me. And, I went to for months, I struggled with, should I quit? Should I stay? What should I do? And then I was good at my job, so the success kind of got in the way. And when you're successful at something, it's hard to give it up. But then when you have something tearing at you, like a new baby, that's hard. It's a hard world.
Yeah.
Especially for women at that time, because I worked in the newspaper industry. That's a man-driven industry. Men don't understand. I mean, they were willing to hire women to go out and do outside sales, and there were a lot of us, but they weren't willing to let us go part-time, job share. If you wanted to go part-time, that meant you were in inside sales.
Oh.
So I went part-time and I killed it because I had all this outside sales experience.
Right.
And then it got to the point where my husband and I decided to leave the suburb of Wauwatosa, and he wanted to buy something where we live now, in the Lake Country. And I decided that I wanted to be at home with her. And then I got pregnant again. And had Titus 2 years later.
Yeah, that kind of seals the deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I did take a small job after that. I was selling advertising for the medical college. They had a small newsletter that they would give to their employees, and they wanted to, get some revenue. And I tried selling and changing diapers and being with children and being on the phone, and it just didn't, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. No, because I mean, like you said, you're being pulled emotionally,
Correct.
but then just physically.
Yes.
You are so tired at the end of the day. You
Yes.
know, um, so just touch on briefly, like, how was that for your marriage?
Um, it didn't really affect our marriage.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
No, it did not affect our marriage because my husband was going to have a career that was going to climb. I mean, he had a master's in healthcare finance. He was very good at negotiating. His career really rose to the top because I stayed home.
Yeah.
But he has always looked at it like your job was always harder than mine.
See, that's amazing because I think a lot of men say that, but I don't know that they always mean it or understand it.
Oh
And
no, he understands.
yeah,
He
and
understands it.
and you feel, kind of underappreciated, I should say. I
Yeah.
think by society, society in
Oh
general back
yes.
then, you were very underappreciated as a stay-at-home mom.
Well, and the other thing is we were in a transition period where women were working full time and
Hmm.
using childcare. I kind of felt like an anomaly staying home with my kids. There
Yeah.
weren't a lot of housewives in my neighborhood. In fact, I attached myself to an older gentleman that lived across the street from me, and he was my go-to and my children's go-to. He was a great man. Miss
Yeah,
him
that's
dearly.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So you were telling me before when we were talking before the podcast that you had a hard time finding friends, like finding people to connect with as a stay-at-home mom. And I think part of that is that isolation and part of it is you're kind of thrown into a pool of people that you might just not connect with, but those are the only people to choose from in the middle of the day.
I think that is the point, your second point there. It's the pool of people.
Hmm.
Um, and it's tough. I mean, also you're thrown into your children's world once they go to school. That's your pool.
Right.
Or the parents that you're sitting on the bench with watching a basketball game or a soccer game.
Yeah.
Or, I did Girl Scouts for a while, and you see how women interact and choose their friends for their children, and
The politics involved in the, yeah.
exactly. And I've always been a person that kind of just doesn't want to go with the flow with that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to march to my own. I march to my own drum. I'm okay spending time alone.
Did you feel like it was almost like high school all over
Oh,
again?
yes.
You're like, I
Absolutely.
used to always say to my kids,
Absolutely.
I said, if you don't like certain people in high school now, they're going to be the same at your 30-year reunion. So I'm just telling you, people don't change that much, you know? And so, yeah,
And the control, people wanting to control their child's friend group and also keep that friend and then having the same parents in that friend group. My husband and we're just like, we don't want to do that.
right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I have very few friends. When you think of like, okay, how many friends do I still have from high school that I keep in contact with? And the answer for me is a couple. Okay. And when you say,
Mhm.
how many friends do you have from your kids growing up that you still keep in contact with? Again, my answer is a couple. And
Exactly.
and I had 4 kids like
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
there were a lot of parents out there that, I had connected with. And, like you said, our kids were, well, I used to coach. So I coached all the kids. So I knew a lot of parents. But yeah, you sat on the sidelines with them. You maybe were the 2 moms that did the bulletin boards in the hallway and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was great at the time. But again, like I said, you're thrown into this pool of people that may or may not connect with you, right? I think, for me, staying at home all that time was kind of this loss of identity just because, and unfortunately in society, we do place a lot of emphasis on your identity is your profession. And when
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah. The first question is, what do you do?
right.
Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Oh,
And the conversation ends pretty
yeah,
quickly.
pretty quickly. Like, oh, well, you didn't have any other goals or things that you wanted to do, or no talents. You're a stay-at-home mom. You're cooking, you're cleaning,
Right.
you're taxi driving, you're
I think you said it before. It's so important
mm-hmm.
that you allowed your husband to skyrocket in his career. Because if you guys had to share all those duties all the time, it would have been really hard for him to focus as much on his career
Correct.
as he did. And there is a lot to say for that. And just for all you stay-at-home moms out there that are agreeing with us right now, don't agree with us, because it was a perception that we didn't agree with. That was the perception at the time, that we are raising young adults
Correct. Yeah.
to be, or I should say, to be young adults that are, contributing to society and are good people.
Well, and that can adult. A lot of kids have trouble adulting.
Yeah. Well, because we gave them participation awards.
Exactly.
Like,
and
knock that crap off.
No. Yeah. Yeah. We enabled them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because we had so much, when you think back when, like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but things weren't as easy back then. I think I was 10 before I think we got a microwave to make heating up food easier, right? And so it wasn't as easy back then to do all the things during the day, the cleaning, all that stuff. It was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I remember my mother saying we had one car,
Mm-hmm.
and Dad drove the car to school because he was a high school phy ed teacher and a football coach, and I was home. And she said, when I got into kindergarten, she said, forget it. I'm going to go get a profession. And she became a teacher.
Yeah.
And I give her a lot of credit for doing that because she wanted things.
Yeah. Well, that being said, that was one of the things that was really difficult for me, was not feeling like I had any kind of say in the finances because I wasn't bringing in an income. And that just really felt disempowering.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really difficult for me. So, when I got divorced and my kids were not totally grown up when we got divorced, but they were on their way. They could take care of themselves for the most part. And so it was like, well, what am I going to do now? You know? And I knew I had so much more to give the world,
Mm-hmm.
that there was so much that I could do, that I could give, but I had no idea how to start because, who's going to hire a stay-at-home mom? And I didn't want a 9-to-5 job. It was like,
No, you want the flexibility.
right.
Yes.
Because you've now
Yes.
just spent the last, I don't know, well, how many years are we stay-at-home moms? 20, 30 years, whatever it is.
Yeah. My oldest is 30 and my youngest is 24. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a long
Right.
time.
Long time.
Yeah.
And that's what you know.
1995 for me.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's
And wow, that's 30 years. Oh, boy.
frightening, isn't it?
But I
Oh,
wore
Lord.
many different hats. They all went to
Oh.
college. They all got to pursue their interests. They're all very successful people
Yeah.
and they're adulting.
Yeah. And
So that was my job.
that was your job and you
That
did
was
it
my
well.
job. Correct. Yeah, I keep saying correct.
No, that's okay. It's all
Correct.
good. I know I say things all the time. I say and a lot, and right. Why don't we take a break and say cheers?
Yes,
So
cheers.
today we have Sauvignon Blanc and we have, oh my Lord, I'm going to forget it. It's
Fish tail.
fishtails. Oh, well, that's
From
not
New
going to help.
Zealand.
From New Zealand. It's delicious.
Very good.
And I have Chasing Venus, also from New Zealand, right?
Mhm.
And they're delicious. So I'll put them in the show notes for you guys. Just some really reasonably priced Sauvignon Blanc from New
Very
Zealand.
good.
Marlborough Valley is where it's at. So I'm not a sommelier. I just know that one thing. So yeah, I didn't even take a sip. Look at that. I was like, cheers. And then I didn't take a sip. I think that's rude in some countries.
Oh, I don't know.
in this country.
Um,
So tell me now, okay. So your kids are, pretty much all grown up at this point. And a few years back, you came to me and you said, what are you doing, Betsy? I want to do something, just to kind of have purpose during the day, because what else are you doing? You're, oh, let's go have another coffee with
Yeah.
the ladies and,
let's go to B.
Right. B Fitness. That's our fitness gym where we met. Well, we didn't meet there.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah.
yeah,
But we saw each other there a
yeah.
lot at that time. Yeah, I mean, it's the same mundane thing over and over again. And I know a lot of people out there listening to this that are driving home from work or driving to work and, not really digging their 9 to 5 job are saying, oh, how are you guys complaining about this? You get to go have coffee and you get to go to the fitness club and, stay home and raise your kids. And I would say that we're not complaining.
No,
It's more of just an awareness of, hey, there is more out there. Don't give up. Don't settle for mediocrity. You can reinvent your life after your kids are grown up. Now, if you're young and raising kids, I urge you to start that now. Think about getting into hobbies or interests or
or
building
meeting
a small business at home
or meeting people that you find that you have the same interests. Maybe you like to travel, find somebody to travel with. Find somebody that's, a lot of women do book clubs,
Mm-hmm.
which is fun.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
you're-
drink at them?
I think some women do. I don't do them. So
I was in one book club. I'm just going to tell this story real quick. Because if you know me,
sounds kind of lame though.
most
Do
people-
a book club.
I know most people that know me are like, you were in a book club? I'm like,
Yeah, I
very,
can't see you.
I know it very briefly, about the same amount of time that I was in the Girl Scouts as a kid. And so, I was in this book club and I thought, again, I was a stay-at-home mom, had just moved to California, and I thought this is going to be a good way to get to know some women and to have fun. And they promised me that there'd be a glass of wine there. So I was in, right? But then we were reading the classics.
Oh,
And
I like that.
well, I'd never read them in high school because my
Okay.
high school literature teacher they were classics, but she decided to kind of go off the rails because she was sick and tired of the same old books. So all the books that people have read that they talk about them, I'd never read. So I thought, oh, sure. Yeah, I'll do this. Right.
Yeah.
So we started with Catcher in the Rye. And I was like, halfway through, I said, you guys, is there ever a point to this book? Because I'm like, otherwise I'm just going with the Cliff Notes. And they said, no, not really. I'm like, why are we reading it? Right? Like, let's read something more exciting. I mean, even the discussions about it weren't really all that exciting. Right. And I don't know if it was just our group or whatever, but anyway, it was just kind of funny.
The idea is good, but to put it into practice,
Right. Exactly.
it's a little dry.
It was.
It's dry reading.
It is dry reading,
Yeah.
especially for a women's group that I was kind of hoping would be a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
So when it was my turn to choose a book, I did not choose a classic. Surprise, surprise. I chose a book. It was an autobiographical book by a Chinese man who had lived through the Cultural Revolution. And it's just really stunning, when you read that and realize that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And it wasn't a long read. It was, it's a pretty short book. And I found out, we were living in San Diego at the time, and I found out that he was a professor at one of the local colleges. And I think it was University of San Diego. And so I contacted him via email and I said, hey, we have this book club. Would you become willing to come and talk to us? And he said, yeah. I'll
Oh,
come
I
talk to you."
like that.
So everybody brought their books and he signed them and he talked about his life in the Cultural Revolution. And I pretty much dropped Mike after that and walked out and never came back to book club. It was
So
it's
you-
like, I'm done.
Well, but it's a different perspective. It's not just you reading a book and discussing it. You have the actual author there. That I like that.
Right. And that was kind of me
Yes.
and my kind of adventurous side and my mindset and everything. And so I felt like I just couldn't keep going back, week after week and reading books that I didn't want to read. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was, so again, going back to that, being thrust into these situations where you're trying so hard to fit in because you want to have some kind of purpose or something outside of the children.
Of your children.
That is
yes.
adult life, right? I
Yeah.
mean, how many times were you like, God, I just need to have an adult conversation?
Well, then I would go visit my neighbor, John.
Yeah, right? That was so awesome that you had him. How old was he at the
He
time?
was in his 90s.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, he was probably in his late 80s when we moved in there because it was 95. And then we lived there for 12 years. And I think he died when he was 95.
wow.
Um,
And I bet you brought so much joy to his life too. so much purpose for him also.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
Because his wife
that's
passed away shortly after we lived there.
yeah,
Merle. Yeah, I
that's
mean, you know what? And he was a wealth of information. He grew up in Waukesha County. His family owned the Moore Mud Baths in Waukesha, which was like a respite for people during the Depression. People would go there to get healed. He wrote books
that's so
about his
cool.
family, and he wrote 8 or 9 books about his family, which I
That's
own. Yeah,
amazing. That's
yeah, and
amazing.
he raised 6 kids, and he did not want to leave that home. He
I
did not want to
did he
leave.
die in the home?
I believe so.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's amazing.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward.
Okay.
So now your kids, we got off track, which we will.
hmm
Well, it's not the first time. It's not the last time. So you went and worked at a clothing retailer for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't do that until. Is that your phone?
It is my phone.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
funny.
Keep going.
I didn't do that until not this past fall, which would have been the fall of 24, the fall of 23. I decided I needed something. I wanted to see if I could prove myself in sales again, and I used to go in the store all the time, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna just. I went in there one day, and one of the saleswomen said to me, "You should work here." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." So she left my name for the manager. I met with the manager, and she hired me on the spot.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I've been working there since the fall of 23. But now I'm like, I just had my hip replaced 7 weeks ago. I'm like, do I want to go back? I don't know. I want to find something a little bit more heady to do.
Yeah, a little bit more fulfilling.
Yes.
A little bit more
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
So tell me, you also discovered adventure trips.
Yeah, when I was let's see, back in right before COVID, 2019, we have a place in northern Wisconsin, and a friend of mine was telling me that she went and learned to do fly fishing, and I thought, oh, I like that. And so I started doing some research online, and there's a program called Becoming an Outdoors Woman, and one of the satellites for Becoming an Outdoors Woman is in Stevens Point. So I got onto Stevens Point's website, and I found Green Adventures, which is a company run by a woman named Tara Short.
And it's Edventures, right?
Yes.
ED.
Edventures. And I started looking into it. I called Tara, and it was between Baja, Mexico, a trip to Baja, Mexico. But it wasn't just a trip to lay on the beach. It was a trip to go camping on an island up in La Paz and then go whale watching, or to go to Costa Rica. And I remember calling her and say, I was very serious, because she told me that. She goes, wow, you were really serious on the phone about this. And I chose to go to Costa Rica. And it's just as a side note, Green Adventures is a company that just provides travel opportunities for women. There are no men on these trips.
Okay, I was wondering about that. Yeah,
unless it's a field guide.
Mm.
So when we were in Costa Rica, Pepe was our field guide, but it was all women that went on the trip.
Okay.
And I went to Costa Rica. I was very frightened at first to go do this all by myself, but I felt like I really needed to get out of my rut. And I needed something for myself that didn't have anything to do with my home, my husband, my 4 kids, my immediate family. I just needed something for me just to go.
Right, because you get to just be you.
Correct.
You don't,
Yeah, here I said it again.
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
I like that. It's just very reassuring for me. Thank you.
And I also think, too, it's not just about being you, or not just for you, but it's about you being you.
Yes.
There are nobody knows who you are, where you came from, who your friend is, who you live next to, what you do, your history.
Yeah. The first,
Nothing. They know you tell them, well, I'm from, where you're from, basically, and you have a beer, sit down, get to know each other, meet everybody else, meet your trip leader, and go. You
yeah,
know.
that's so the first time I went on a vacation by myself,
Mm-hmm.
truly by myself to a place I'd never been before, I, I was so excited when I got home and everybody kept saying, I was like, oh my God. Because, okay, everybody kind of thought I was crazy going. You're going to a place you've never been to before by yourself. Oh my God, aren't you scared? And,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, no, I researched it and I feel good about it,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty adventurous and I've lived in different, I've lived in Australia and I've traveled all over the world. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not that weird for me. And so I said no. And then when I got back, I said that was the most amazing thing I've ever done was going on a vacation by myself. And people thought it was because I got to choose my schedule, that I didn't have to worry about anybody else and, or take care of anybody else or, anything like that. And I said, no, that's not it. And it actually took me a little while to figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it was. I finally looked and said, I got to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And people look at you like you're crazy when you say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, no, listen, I wasn't a friend. I wasn't a mother. I
Yeah.
wasn't a coworker. I wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And I was just me again. And there's so many of us that we never get to go back to that at all because we're always with somebody or in a group or in a situation where we're playing one of our roles. And when you get to, it's almost weird at first, when you're just you, right? It's kind of like, wait, okay, who am I? Who do I get to be this week? And I think you learn a lot about yourself.
Oh, you do. You do. And it's scary. I remember having panic attacks before I went.
We wake up
It's
at
like,
2 in the morning, like,
can
what am I
Can I
doing?
get on the plane? Can I get on the plane? But
So, okay,
but I
so
was so
let's-
invigorated.
I mean, that's what this whole podcast is all about, is pushing past fear, pushing past self-doubt. And I would love to talk about that whole process before, all your self-doubt, all your fear. How did you get past that? And then once you got there and you got settled in and you felt comfortable, what was that feeling? So start with before you went.
Well, prior to going, obviously there's what do I want to say? There's parameters. You're only allowed so much material goods with you on these trips. 35 pounds.
Oh no, I haven't flown under 50 pounds and I can't
35
tell you how
pounds.
long.
That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to figure out how you're going to get
That's like
by for
one
10
pair
days.
of shoes.
Yep, for 10 days in Costa Rica with 35 pounds. And that also includes like your cosmetics. And you can take a backpack with you. But yeah, I mean, that was challenging in and of itself, finding the proper suitcase, deciding what to take, although they do give you a packing list. And then, I did go to the doctor because I was like, Costa Rica, do I need shots?
Isn't it funny how you do that?
And no, I really didn't need any. She gave me this. I remember taking this drug, and I was reading about some guys, an explorer in Costa Rica, and I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be taking this. This is why I'm having panic attacks. Because he talks about panic in this book. So I completely stopped taking that drug. I forgot what it was for, but yeah, there was no malaria or,
Right.
I didn't really need to do that. But, you just don't know. And I remember going to the doctor and the woman checking me in, the medical assistant, she said to me, why are you doing this? And I said, because I need to do this. This is important. She just looked at me like this was like the most outrageous thing she's ever heard. A woman traveling by herself to Costa Rica.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how people do that?
And meeting a group of people that you have never met in your life.
Right. But okay,
And
so
trusting the process.
So yes,
Trusting the
I'm getting
process.
T-shirts that say "Trust the process."
Trusting the process.
Yes, and that's really okay. So that's really what it's all about. Is that you got past that fear because you were able to trust the process. And people that are not able to trust the process would stop, cancel their trip, not go. And then they miss out on all of the great things that they could discover.
What a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
to go and meet other women who have like-minded interests and do hard things together, like sleep in the jungle and listen to howler monkeys and trek on dirt roads
Yeah.
and hike,
So it's doing things
sweat
that
your ass off.
yeah.
It's really hot there in January
Oh, I
in the
can
Gulf,
imagine.
further south. Yeah.
So it's really that you're pushing past all this stuff, right? I mean, and you're doing things that you never thought you would ever do, doing things that you didn't think you could do, but because you went with this green adventures, it's dipped your toe into it. And I guarantee that the more you do, you won't need green adventures anymore. You're going to be booking your own trips, going and exploring.
Which is the goal.
Yeah.
Yes, it is to go do it on your own.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
It is fun to meet other women though and hear their stories. Because I not only have I done that trip with her, but I went to Baja, Mexico on whale watching. I went on the Salmon River whitewater rafting, and then I went up to Vancouver Island and did whale watching up there too with her. And they were all I actually went with one of the women that I went with was my roommate in Costa Rica. So we connected, even though she lived in Atlanta, outside Atlanta, and I lived here.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
That's really fun to do that.
Yeah.
So you connected me with Tara Short
Yes.
from Green Adventures. So she actually is going to be on the podcast. So for anybody listening that wants more information, she will be on probably in a couple weeks. We haven't really solidified that date, but I'm guessing 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. So look for Tara Short and Green Adventures, because I think that's going to be a really interesting podcast. So now, before you go on these adventures, because I've done it myself, you create in your head, and this is true with anything we do in life that scares us, that pushes us past our comfort zone. We create in our head this situation that most of the time does not exist, right? So you like, before you go, the panic attacks are based around, because I've created the scenario in my head that Costa Rica is dangerous, or I'm going to be bit by a howler monkey, or there's going to be snakes in the jungle, or there's, all this stuff, right?
Yes.
And once you get there, you realize it's not as bad as you thought it was. We make stories up in our head that are usually 10 times worse than reality. And I think we do that with a lot of things.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think we do that even with meeting other people.
Do you think?
I think that's,
yes.
I think that is so true, because I think you do that. I think that's what stops me in particular from putting myself out there, because I'm always like, well, what are people going to think about me?
Right.
They're going to think I'm crazy that I do things like this, or that I'm
because
adventurous. Again, I'm sure people have pegged you as,
crazy,
outside, because we're outside of the box.
Right. And so this is funny that you should say that, because people have said to me, well, Betsy, you're fearless. And there really is no such thing as fearless. There should always be a healthy fear of something, right? But it's, how do you process that fear is really the big thing. How do you push past it? And do the difficult thing, do the thing that takes you out of your comfort zone. So I remember one of the first things that really pushed me out of my comfort zone and probably put me on this trajectory of adventure the rest of my life was my ex-husband. I don't think we were married at the time. No, we were boyfriend, girlfriend at the time. And we were young. And after college, we were going on a trip to Australia and New Zealand. And he kept saying on the plane ride over, oh, I can't wait to get to New Zealand so that we can go bungee jumping. And I looked at him, I'm like, you're freaking crazy. I'm like, I'm not going bungee jumping. Like, somebody's going to tie something to my ankle and then say, go ahead, jump off a bridge with a big rubber band. I'm not going to do it. And so
in New Zealand too.
Right?
Not in the United States.
Right?
In New Zealand.
I'm flying halfway across the world, and now you want me to jump off a bridge, And so I just kept saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Well, something happened in New Zealand. I don't know. There's some kind of magical thing that goes on there that made me want to do everything. Well, we started in Australia. So Australia was kind of like dipping your toe in, because they do like the craziest stuff, and they're all so much fun, and they're just,
Mm-hmm.
uninhibited and so much fun. Anyway, so then we went to New Zealand, and, we go in a jet boat, and I'm like, I want to be in the front, and all this stuff, right? All of a sudden. And we got to the place we were going bungee jumping, and we sat and we watched people do it for a while. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. I mean, I swore I was not going to do it, right? So you have to go up, 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 way
Isn't
on
it
this bridge.
funny? You were vocalizing, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But then when you got there and you saw, you were like, I can do this.
Yeah. Well, because, I think my thought process was I was seeing average Joes jumping off a bridge. And I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it, right? I'm competitive enough just to
So you just needed the visual.
Yeah. And so we got up there, and it's scary as hell. I am not going to lie. They literally put a towel around your ankles and then a strap around them. And it's this big, thick cord that's all a bunch of tiny rubber bands all together.
Yeah.
Right. And you jump, and you're hoping that rubber band doesn't snap, and so, and when you're
into water,
this one was 237 feet above the river. There's bigger ones. So I chose not to be dipped in the water, but still it's scary. So I watched a bunch of people go before me, and they'd get to the countdown to 1, and they wouldn't jump. Well, every single time that they didn't jump at 1, it was starting the whole process, and it was starting the whole process of fear over for that person, right?
Yes.
So it would take them forever to finally go, right? I mean, to the point where after a while you're like, all right,
Okay,
unstrap them or I'm pushing them, one of the two. And so when it was my turn to get up there, I vowed I wasn't going to do that. And I jumped actually before they got to 1. Because I thought if they get to 1, it seemed like it was a curse. If they got to 1, nobody jumped, right? And so I think they got to 3 or 2, I think 2, and I was gone. And it was so scary. And this is the thing that I didn't realize. You drop all the way down, okay? And you can't even breathe. Like, you can't even scream because you can't breathe. You're like, And then all of a sudden, because it's a rubber band, you bounce all the way back up so that you can do it one more time. Because I got to the bottom.
And this is happening in a matter of seconds.
Yes. And I was like, oh no, I'm going all the way back up. That means I have to fall again, And so then then you stop bouncing, and they lower you into a raft, and they take you back to the shore.
Okay.
And we did a 2-for-1 because the deal was, I know it wasn't 2-for-1. It was like buy 2 and get the second one half price or something, right? So we're like, what a deal. We should get 2 jumps then, right? But it was really a good idea because the first time you can't really enjoy it because you're like just hoping you live. The second time you really enjoy it. It's like just that freedom of being in the air. And I mean, it was amazing. So that was really my first foray into pushing past a major fear and just going all in, just go for it. And I realized afterwards, like, I can do it.
Yeah.
And that bled into so many other parts of my life. Like, if I can do that, I can, talk to that stranger over there, and I can, all the other little things that you're afraid of in your life. So that was an amazing turning point for me. So that's the whole reason I'm here in this podcast, is to urge people to do what you did. That's why I wanted to have you on and hear your story.
I appreciate that.
Because I think it's not something that everybody, like you said, a lot of people looked at you and they think, she's crazy. Why is she doing this? It's not something that everybody does. And it doesn't always have to be a huge thing like that, right? It doesn't have to be you go on this big adventure, right? Everybody has a different threshold of fear. So for some people, talking to a stranger,
that's huge for some people.
Is huge. So go out and start doing that. Because you know what you realize is people, you're going to get a couple people that don't want to talk to you. But for the most part, people really like the fact that you're connecting with them. And
I think too, so many people, one of the things that my husband and I always talk about is you just don't know what's going on in people's lives.
Yeah.
Until you open up with them. And then you're like, wow, they're in the same boat I am.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them and going, oh, their life's probably perfect, and it's really not.
No, no,
It's really not.
no, it's not.
Everybody's got junk.
Everybody's got something.
Yes.
And if you can be vulnerable enough to open yourself up to that, right? So to not act like you're perfect, to not act like your life is perfect, that's really a repellent to people connecting with you. Because I remember living in Southern California, and no offense to all you people in Southern California, I love you. But they like to put on a face, right? And I had just done a stint in Australia where they're the complete opposite. Literally, people in Australia are like, if you don't like me, fuck off. Like, they're like, this is who I am. If you don't like it, screw you. And it's so refreshing,
Little
right?
New Yorkish.
Yeah, right. A little New Yorkish, but in a more fun way.
Yeah.
They're like super fun. They're super fun. And so then, there I am in Southern California where it's all about looks and, it's all about the perception of being perfect and everything. And I found it really, really hard being from the Midwest to connect with people. In fact, the second time we moved there, my best friend was from Washington State. My best friend wasn't from Southern California, so we connected on that. We connected on the fact that this was a foreign environment to us. And again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, it's where it's what's comfortable for you, what aligns with you, where you fit in, where you feel comfortable. But I would say that being vulnerable is definitely something that will open you up to connection.
I believe that too.
Yeah. And don't miss my upcoming podcast about male vulnerability.
Oh, I heard about that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great podcast. All the men are going to want to listen. But yeah, so okay, so you went on this adventure. You came home. Okay, you went on a few, but let's go back to the first one you went on. You came home. What was your aha? Like, what was your?
I came home and I was so tearful. I was so I was crying and upset, and my husband was like, why are you upset? You just went on this wonderful opportunity. You met these people. I was like, but I miss being in that element. You miss that element of being yourself. And I missed my peeps. I missed the women I went with. I felt like I really made a connection with those women.
If you just had to use a few words to describe how you felt when you were there, like freedom, or what are the words that you would use to describe it?
The moment that I remember feeling in my own skin was when we took the plane from San Juan down to I think it's the Golfito, where we were going to this research station to stay for 3 nights where the howler monkeys were. And we were on a boat to get over to this research station, and I was on that boat, and I was just like, I just felt this sense of like adventure and loving being on the boat.
Exhilaration.
Yes. And like, wow, I'm alive. I'm alive. I found my thing. I'm here. I'm comfortable. I'm in my own skin. This is beautiful. I can't wait to get to where we're going and discover more. And yeah.
Isn't that such a gift? I mean,
it really is. It really is.
I mean,
yes.
I think all the time, if I could give that gift to people, if I were, Elon Musk with all his money, there's so many people I know that I would just give that money to and say, go do this, please, feel this for yourself.
Yes.
And again, not everybody gets that feeling of being alive from the same thing that we do, but it's so important to find that, especially stay-at-home moms that are trying to figure out where they kind of fit in the world after their kids are self-sufficient and grown up, because what's your purpose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just feeling alive again and knowing who you are and finding your identity. And then it's, okay, well, I've got a lot of life left in me. What am I going to do to make a difference? What am I going to do to feel fulfilled, to feel like I have purpose?
Absolutely.
So yeah. Would you say you're still discovering that? I mean, I
I
think
think
I'm
I'm
always going to be
I
discovering
think
it.
it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
You're still, back home, got to take care of the house, the dogs, kids are calling still, wanting advice. You're still in that role.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that role? You're still the mom.
No, and I don't think you ever do want to
No.
get out of that role.
No, and I don't.
Yeah.
I enjoy my
It's
kids. I have a great relationship with them. I mean, it's important to me, it's important to my husband, it's important to them. I want my family, but I still want my identity.
right. Do you think it improved your relationship with your kids and your husband?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
come back a new way of being.
Yes.
And a new
And
confidence.
I think they were proud of me. I know my younger daughter was like, "Wow, that's really cool, Mom. I can't believe you did that."
I got a cool mom
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's well, and
I think too they were happy for me.
oh, see, and that's so
Yeah.
cool. But also, I think that's a good example for them. I think you were,
Mhm.
you're an inspiration to them that, well, mom did this. I think of what I can do in my life,
Exactly.
and I think that's so cool to be that example. I think this notion that as parents we just have to give all of ourselves and take nothing for ourselves and just
Mhm.
give it all away is wrong, because if you don't fill up your tank, you have nothing to give.
Well, and that's why it's so important when you're a young person and you become a mother that you don't just become the mother, that you still have your hands in something else. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did, I but I was a little ADD with it. I was like, I'm doing this for a while and that for a while and this for a while. I
Yeah.
was like, and so I was always doing something,
Mhm.
but I think my regret is that I didn't build something, that I didn't stick
But you
with
did.
something. And
You built
I did. I built children,
you
didn't I?
built children,
Yeah.
and that was a very important job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's super important.
It's a really you did though. I know, and I feel this. I have said the same thing that you just said. That what did I do? What did I do? What did
All
I
those
do?
years. Well, it's funny because, I have to think back and give myself credit because, I think we just, and again, I think it's a little bit of societal thought process too, that,
Mm-hmm.
being a stay-at-home mom isn't important. I mean, you go to a cocktail party and like we said, the second you say you're a stay-at-home mom, they're just like, oh, those hors
Boring.
d'oeuvres over there,
Boring.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to talk to her because she's going to talk about little Jimmy and, soccer and, whatever. And I don't have any kids named Jimmy, but if I did.
No.
But yeah, it's, yeah. So I have to look back and give myself credit for, I did coaching early on. I started coaching kids and I coached kids all the way through until my
So that's huge because my father was a football coach and he coached football for 35 years at Sheboygan South, and he touched so many young men's lives.
Yep.
So you were in there
Yeah. Yeah.
helping young people develop by coaching.
And I used to say, especially when it was middle school, high school, college age kids. Well, I mean, even when I did the little kids, but I used to say, I'm here to teach you a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you guys get really good at volleyball. And I really hope we win games because that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we're here learning how to be on a team, because in life, you are always going to be on a team. You're in a team right now. You're in a family, and you're going to have coworkers. And you're going to have a family of your own. You're going to have a partner, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
always have to learn how to function in a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think team sports are so important, because you're not always number one. You don't always get your way. Things don't always go your way. And, you have those ups of victory and those downs of defeat. And that's what life is. I mean, it's like
Mm-hmm.
life in a little microcosm, And so I'm like, I'm here to make sure that you guys are good people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If, I would be willing to lose a game if one of my players was acting up and they were the best player on the floor. I'd take them out and lose the game. Because if you're acting out and you're not being a good teammate or whatever it is,
exactly,
then you don't deserve to be on that floor. And if we lose because of it, whatever, you know. And it's hard to do because if you're a coach, you're a competitive person.
Well, and then you got the parents, you know, in your ear.
I love those parents.
I know.
No, I had some really awesome parents, but of course there's always, you know, the parents that just go a little overboard and they're really hard to deal with. And that got really old after a while. It's really draining, you know, because you're trying to enjoy what you're doing. And when you have these unreasonable people coming at you and, you know, and you're trying to.
And their focus isn't what your focus is.
Right.
Their focus is generally on their child.
Yeah.
And their playtime.
Yeah.
Or winning.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And there's times when I'm like, you know, I want to look at him and say, you know, your child just isn't that good, you know, and it's like, I don't want to say that but when I compare your child to the other talent on the team, you know, I told one parent, I said, listen, I don't care how good your child is. She screws off in practice. She doesn't know where to be on the court because she's not paying attention in practice. So until she gets those things and starts paying attention and listening and, you know, whatever, I said, all the other kids know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They might not be as good as her, but they're doing what they should, right? They're showing up for their team.
Yeah.
And they're putting in the work. And I said, so until she can settle in, take it seriously, pay attention, you know, then she can play. But until then, this is the playing time that she gets.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to the other kids
Yeah.
that are trying really hard.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, so being a coach, so rewarding, but yet really challenging at the same time. And you really don't get
and then you're
hardly
kind of
paid
like,
anything.
why am I doing this? I have 4 kids at home.
Right.
I'm going home at 4 kids.
I know. It was like, but it was.
I give you credit for doing that, though.
Yeah. But it was so much fun. I mean, it's just, it did get to a point after a while where, you know, it just wears you down a little bit, you know, and so I, you know, it was like, okay, I think I've had enough.
Yeah.
You know? I think it's
time to move on to my next.
Yeah, let somebody else come in and
my next adventure.
Right. Whatever I'm going to come up with.
Yes.
But anyway, well, it was great having you on the podcast.
Thank
today.
you. I really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah. So, okay.
At first I was like, me?
But see all the great things you had to tell people?
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Yes.
So before we leave, I do want to ask you just if you're going to address young stay-at-home moms. And I know you said a little bit before of, you know, to really build something for yourself or stay involved in something, but what else would you tell them?
Well, I think you're a better parent when you fill yourself up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't drain yourself. Fill yourself up so you can give back to your family and your immediate circle.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Right, because being a martyr doesn't help anyone.
And find your person that you can go to. I think that's so important.
That's really important because it's not always your husband.
No, and mine happened to be an 85-year-old geriatric man living across the street from me.
What was his name?
John Weber.
John Weber.
John Weber the Third.
John Weber the Third. I love it. I love it.
I mean, but don't ignore the fact that there are people out there that necessarily aren't your age.
And it doesn't have to be other moms in
No.
your mom group.
No. It doesn't. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
He was really a savior in that time for me. And it was hard because I ended up moving away from him and I felt so guilty after we built our home and then he died and I went to his funeral and and that was like 3 years after we had moved away from him. And I really had a lot of remorse for getting busy in my life and with other people and not trying to keep that relationship, the status as it was. But it was difficult because I moved. I was not living right across the street from him anymore.
That and you both gave each other something, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So you gave him so much joy by giving him companionship and letting you,
He became a part of our family.
correct.
Yes.
So it was almost like his grandkids.
Oh,
you know?
yes. Yeah.
And that's such a gift. And when you think about it, maybe his time with you was what you needed, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'm sure he thought of it as, like raising a kid, she needed this at that time, and now she's flown away and she's good to go. And he gave you what you needed
Never really
at the time.
thought about it like that, but I do miss him. Yeah, I think about him a lot.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And
it is really cool.
do your kids remember him at all?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much
Thank you,
for that.
Betsy.
And I hope to have you on again. I mean, this is so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to come back and do this.
Yeah. Now we're just going to go finish our wine.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
We're going to sign off. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I just want to say real quick, if anything really resonated with you today, we would love to hear comments. Follow, please. Like, please. I love all that. That really helps me get the word out there. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Hey, if today's conversation inspired you, please consider leaving a review, commenting, and sharing this episode with somebody who could benefit. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube, subscribe, and follow on YouTube to stay updated. And I want to shout out to Audio Alchemy Productions for making this podcast a success. Until next time, keep embracing your journey and empowering your life.